Well, good morning, sunshine. I hope this video finds everybody doing well. And before we get to the shooting portion of this, as the title is suggesting, I've reached that 100 round mark with my 18, my new model Navy. Let me just kind of clarify something real quick. I've mentioned this before. All of us that are shooting this 58 Remington new model Navy, we all know that this particular gun from Pieta is built on the Army frame. So you'll have to excuse me when I mistakenly call this a Navy, because when you put this revolver in your hand, you know you're putting the Army revolver in your hand. That's actually drilled and bored. The caliber is 36. So you'll just have to excuse my lack of words. And one of the reasons for that is, friends, is until I purchased Friday's Nightmare, which is a 61 Navy, that was actually my first 36 caliber cap and ball revolver. Up until then, I only purchased and shot 44 caliber. So it's just common for me to speak of these guns as the Army instead of the Navy. So please excuse that. Now, after my last embarrassing shooting session when it was real windy, you friends could see that I barely could hit the broadside of a barn, and that kind of disturbed me a little bit. So the following 2 days after that, it got real calm out here, and I decided to do some more shooting to get this Navy revolver up to about that 100 round number so that I could start tweaking the sights. Now what I did after I got done that last shooting session, I went into my shop and I turned me another powder measure, 22 grains. And I was going to do my next shooting session with 3F GoX, but I decided to use my homemade gunpowder. And this particular batch of gunpowder I had actually made with willow as the charcoal. So I wanted to see if there was really much of a difference between shooting 22 grains and 25 grains. And because I did not bring out my GoX 3F, all of this shooting I did was with my homemade gunpowder. So the other day, I shot 4 complete cylinders. So this is the target, and all of them holes right there is absolutely 24 bullet holes. I put up a clean backdrop to see if I was shooting way left, or excuse me, way right, but all 24 rounds ended up right here. Now with this particular shooting session, the first cylinder I loaded with my new powder measurer at 22 grains. And I aimed directly at the bullseye, and everything seemed to go right. And if you follow or have been following what this particular revolver's been doing, everything has been consistently shooting to the right. So then my second cylinder, I loaded up with 25 grains of my homemade black powder, used the same aiming point, and they all pretty much ended up in the same area. So then my third cylinder, I went back to 22 grains, but then I mentally changed my point of aim, because by now I've already figured out I'm going to have to adjust my front sight to the right to move my point of impact to the left. So what I started doing then was playing, and I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a close-up if I can right here. And I don't, that's why I'm sitting in the sun, because I'm hoping you guys will be able to see it. But if you look at my front sight, I have a fluorescent yellow dot up here. So with some of the shooting that I was doing, I was putting, let me cock it here, it's empty. And by the way, if this gun was loaded and it accidentally went off, do you think I would put that on YouTube? No, I wouldn't. But anyhow, let me get back to my point of thought. So in one cylinder, I took the very, very top of the sight and put it right at the top of the apex. And actually the sight's back here, but that's where I actually put it, was right at the top, and they all seem to be shooting a little low. So then, or high, I forget now exactly. I'll determine that again before I start filing it down my next shooting session. And then the next round, if you can look at where the paint ends, then I started putting that right at the top so that I could see where it was impacting in between cylinders. Now, with all of that being said, you don't want to go, if you're going to adjust your front sights, you don't want to go too terribly low because there is no adjustment the back V-notch. And I kind of eyeballed this up this morning before coming out here, considering lowering the V-notch that's in the back of the Revolver and just mentally looking things through and kind of, you know, visualizing what was going to happen. If, in my opinion, if I were to lower this any lower than it is now, I would be getting in to the top of the hammer. Definitely don't want to do that. So I'm going to have to work with everything just off the front sight. Now, after I got done that shooting session, I went ahead and just barely moved the front sight to the right, which is going to cause me to pull the front of the barrel this way. Whether I've moved it enough right now or not, I don't know. But let me get back to what I did the other day in the shooting on the paper plate. So my third cylinder, I went back to 22 grains, but then I changed my point of aim over to this side of the bullseye, and then obviously you can start seeing that I've got a lot more impacts in the center of the bullseye. And then my last cylinder, which was, I went back to 25 grains and kind of kept it right here, and I still put those bullets in that same bullseye. So at this point, I guess I'm ready to load the Revolver up and start playing with the sights. And I'm at 16 yards, and I will be using my homemade gunpowder. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to use the gunpowder I made with the willow charcoal or if I'm going to use the gunpowder that I used with my juniper. And I will probably favor the gunpowder I made with juniper, because once I started making that gunpowder, I readily recognized in testing them that juniper gunpowder, that's what I'm going to be making from here on out. So that's probably what I will sight in this gun, and also the 51 Navy. And when I get all of that done, then I'm going to go in and ream the cylinders out of my 61 Navy. And I'm still debating whether I should do that with the 62 Pocket Navy. Haven't decided on that yet. That'll be the last gun that I'm going to be dealing with anyhow. So let's get into the shooting, and we'll see how we progress from here. So before we get into the shooting session and sighting this 1858 Remington Navy Revolver in, I just wanted to answer a question that somebody had left under the previous video regarding the reaming of the cylinders, and the question had to do with the forcing cone, what the size of the forcing cone is. That's really hard to determine because it's a cone, so depending on how you measure the cone, you're going to come up with a different measurement. So what I'm going to do is my best to try to answer that question. And the best way that I can do it is by using a ruler because my dial calipers, there's just no way. There's no way my dial calipers are going to let me do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this ruler that measures in 64ths and try to get a good guess in 64ths what that is, and then transfer that to my dial caliper, bearing in mind it's not going to be 100% accurate. So let me do this real quick, because all I'm going to do is just put it across the top in the sun and try to get a reading off this metal ruler, which is just, it looks like it's right about 24/64. So taking my dial caliper, getting a good view in the sun here and kind of putting it right there. And I'm just going to round it up. It's well, that's probably too much, 0.400. Let me get a better look in the sun here. It looks like it's about 0.394, maybe 0.395, and if I really work at it, I can probably get it down to about 0.390. So that kind of gets you into the ballpark. Now, as I mentioned before, what's really happening is this 380 round ball is swaging down to the size of what the exiting bore of this particular revolver is. Now, according to the Dixie catalog, 2011, that's the only catalog I have, there's 7 lands, and across the lands they're supposed to measure 0.360, and there's 7 grooves, and the grooves are supposed to measure 0.372. And you'll have to bear with me. There again, the breeze is picking up. It's like my employer said, if you wait around till the breeze or the wind stops, you'll never get nothing done. And that's where I'm at right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys the number of the land and the groove across the barrel. So I'm actually going to be measuring the high point to the low point, and I'll give you what that number is. Let me get it in the sun here. .360. So that's what the Dixie catalog is kind of showing. Let me do this again just for argument's sake. That time I got .365. So, you know, there again, depending on what your feel is in using one of these, you know, you may get a different number. But either way, when you're using a .380 round ball, you're actually swaging that ball at the exiting end of the rifle, or the revolver, this particular revolver, somewhere between 360 and .365. So that's actually elongating that round ball. Now, sometime in the summer, when I can get enough water jugs collected, I'm going to go ahead and shoot into some water jugs, try to collect a good round ball that's not damaged, and then take measurements at that time. So let me get readjusted here, get set up, and we'll go to sighting in this revolver. Okay, 25 grains of my homemade powder with the juniper as the charcoal, pre-lubricated felt wad, .380 round ball, And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the very top of the front sight with the top of the V-notch. Going to take 3 shots, see what happens. Obviously, you guys will see this before I do at this point. And it should be noted, I actually put my eyeglasses on so that I could see the target a little bit better. But as I explained in previous videos, the sights on the gun are very blurry. So my trade-off is I'm just gonna have clear sights on the gun and a little bit of a fuzzy bullseye on the target. So here we go. Well, it looks like I'm going to have to file that sight and bring the impact point up. So I'm going to do that off camera, obviously, and then I'll take the next 3 shots and see if I can't bring that impact point up. And it still looks like I might have to drift that front sight a little bit more to the right to bring the front of the barrel over to the left. So let me get some of that done and I'll join you here in just momentarily. Okay, I drifted the sight a little bit more to the right, filed some of the front sight off. So let's see what I've accomplished and how much more I still might have to do. Well, I brought the height up just about where I want it, and looks like I might have to go just a hair to the left now to change that point of impact. So I'm going to get loaded up, and I'll join you right back here in a few more moments. Also, what I'd like to note is on that front sight, after I filed down the height, I took my file and I rounded the edges over, and I may do that just a little bit more just to kind of narrow that front sight up just a tad bit. But let's get the next 3 shots downrange, and we'll take a walk up to the target and see what I've accomplished, if anything at all. I can tell you right now, I do not think I've drifted the front sight enough. But we'll find that out after the next 3 shots. All right, let's take a walk up and see. Well, it looks like all 3 are touching. Still a little high, and still a little to the, little to the left. I'm gonna go get a bird's eye view and reaffirm that. Stay tuned. Okay, those appear to be 3 round ball touching right there. So I went ahead and I drifted the sight just a hair. I'm going to take the next 3 shots, and obviously you guys will see this before I do. Stay tuned. Well, how'd I do, guys? Not half bad. I'm going to go get another bird's eye view, perhaps change the target out and get some fresh impacts. But from here, really doesn't look too bad. I think I've got the height just about right. I might just have to go just a little bit more with that sight to bring it more to the center. So let me get reloaded, change out the sight, and we'll have another go around. I should note at this point, the last 2 cylinders I did not put any lube in the forcing cone. This time I did. So let's see where this first shot's going to print. Surprise! I shot all 6. Looking at the camera from right here, and I can't wait to get it back into the editing program because it looks like there's one bullet not in the bullseye, and I'm curious right now if that was not the first shot or not, but I'll determine that once I get into the editing program. And as it looks from right here, I think I'll leave the sights alone. What do you guys think? I'm going to go walk up and get a much more closer look, and maybe we'll load up another 6 rounds and point the camera towards the gun and bid everybody adieu. Okay, before I shoot my last and final cylinder for the day, just kind of give you guys an overview. Real quick, I put up a brand new sight because I'm kind of curious about packing that front cone with that lube like I normally do. I'm beginning to wonder whether I should be doing that at all. But as I mentioned, once I get it into the editing program, I'll see that which shot that one shot was that went low. But what I did before I loaded up the cylinder, on the front of the sight, I actually cut it back into itself so that when I'm looking down the barrel in the sight, all I can see is just that yellow dot that I put up there. Something you might want to think about, you know, when you start messing with your sights, is just to remove anything on the back end of this, you know, what would be the front, narrow it in towards the back so that, you know, your sight's kind of beveled back so that all you're looking at is just the front of the sight and not maybe looking at the back of the sight that might be a little wider than the front side. I guess that's probably the best way to explain that. So I'm going to get situated, take the last 6 shots, and then I'll turn the camera and we'll see if the last target was a fluke or not. I'm hoping it wasn't a fluke, but let's see. Let's take a walk up and have a view. Let me quit shaking here. Well, still not half bad, guys. Not half bad. Oh, the hell with it. I'm going to load up another 6. Stay tuned. So, before I give you all a close-up in the last 6 rounds, I certainly hope that you've enjoyed what I presented here. I certainly hope that you will remember to hit the like button and to share it with your bestest of buddies. And as you can tell, as usual, the weathermen have the wind or the breeze correct. So, friends, thanks for watching. And this coming weekend's supposed to be a pretty nice weekend, so I'm hoping to get out here with that 51 Navy Army San Marco and see how that works, since I've got those cylinders, or at least the throats, reamed a little bit on those. So anyhow, I'm going to focus in on the target. And you friends have a blessed day. May your aim be straight and your sensibility spot on, and think twice before you ever make any type of adjustment. Bye. Okay, guys, I want to show you this because you can count how many cylinders I shot today. Did not clean the gun whatsoever. But I want to point out 2 things. Hopefully you can see the front of the barrel and just how much lube is at the end of the barrel. That's a really good indication that you're getting enough lube down the barrel when you shoot. But the other thing that I want to show, and I don't know how well the camera's actually going to pick it up. I'm going to try to get in a little close, move the barrel around, but I want you to see just how clean that barrel is. And looking at it right here in with the view screen, I can tell it's probably not giving you guys a good look-see down that barrel. But if not, I can attest to the fact that my homemade gunpowder, especially this stuff with the juniper in these revolvers, shoots fairly clean. Let me get moved around, and I'll get to the other side and see if I can move it around to move in a little closer. I really can't see for myself because I'm getting too much of a reflection back in through the view screen. I don't know if moving the paper up is going to help any at all, or probably not, because you need the light in where the cylinder sits. But I'm really hoping you friends can get a good look down that barrel and just see how clean this gunpowder is. So having watched the video and in the editing program recognized that your friends really couldn't see down that barrel to recognize how clean it really is. So obviously I'm giving you a look-see with my bore light down the other end, and I hope you friends can really see just how clean that barrel is. Thanks for watching. Bye.